What I really want, PJ, is I really, really want Spotify and these other yahoos to get their act together. Because when we post Done Lite, we expect the episode that we posted to be public. We don't expect reruns. That's not our standard.
Well, I will say this. Admittedly, I had several timelines up when I exported it. So it is possible. It probably was human error on my end.
But, PJ, you went and fixed it.
Right, and the app has not updated.
Correct.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. This is Done Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. We are in the high-rise white brick edifice, two-story brick edifice, that is.
The edifice of white bricks.
At 530. Frederica Street, Owensboro, Kentucky. Owensboro, Kentucky. And we are in the library conference room studio. And we are discussing the glitch, the real glitch. I told my cousins it was a glitch, and you know what they said? Oh boy, we've heard about glitches before. But
well, it was human error. I mean, the initial issue was me, because it turns out I'm not
somebody
perfect,
was
and
just
I'm human.
Too much in a rush to get to their fun weekend.
I don't know if fun was the best way to describe it, and I knew that it wasn't going to necessarily. I mean, it was fun, but it was it was business. Mm-hmm. It was a work thing. All right, I'm gonna play this real quick, and we'll see if it actually has updated.
Okay.
And when I hit it, Siri pops on, and she goes, "What would you like to listen to?"
Nope.
To which I respond, "Listen, woman, what I want to hear is some Def Leppard."
Gosh, just that soundbite sounds terrible.
Well, if you were to take and see, that's the thing. That's what cancel culture does. They could easily take that little snippet out of context,
woman. Right?
And then that would be it.
Well, anyhow, here we are, and today is a unique day because this podcast will be up moments after we do it because
Well, I don't know about moments, hours, but it'll be up today, and it will be the right one
compared to others. Got a few things to talk about today, just a few. Are you a person that watches gas prices?
I mean, I try to find the lowest gas price.
Okay, so you're semi-cognizant of, I mean,
right.
At least for me, when I'm driving around town, I have 3 or 4 spots that are on my routes, like the tip. And I kind of compare them. I know in my mind, they're usually a little higher than them. So I'll just go up to them. And then I'll get up there and they're like, well, they haven't dropped theirs yet. But I kind of know, like the 5-star versus the Hucks versus the Chuckles. Yeah, you kind of figure out which ones are, and they drop them at different times of the week and things. You kind of get it figured. But I'm aware of it. I like to save a nickel a gallon when I'm putting 20 gallons in my vehicle.
Right.
It saves me $1. It saves me $1, PJ. Mm-hmm. And you save
it still goes a long way.
If you save enough bucks, it matters. So I am not. Now I'm not I won't drive a long distance just to get cheaper gas because it's kind of, and I'm not one of those people that will, that like worries about it if I get stuck having to pay a few cents more,
Right.
But I do pay attention. Do you?
I will look at like the gas prices I'm passing by places to try to keep track of it. Uh-huh. But usually if I'm really in need of gas, I'll stop wherever. But like yesterday I filled up and I knew I had Kroger points. So I went to Kroger and I was able to get 40 cents off the gallon.
Yeah, now that helps, right?
Oh, yeah. But I still put like $35 in because that's how low I got on gas.
Okay. Would you agree that gas prices is like an American hot topic? Because when what happens is the trickle down. When it costs a company to ship their milk from the cow to the place where it's processed and packaged, when it costs more money to move it there and more money to move it from there to the store, where does it go? It goes in the price of the milk, right?
Right.
It goes in the price of the eggs. It goes in the price of the beef. And it costs more to raise grain because you're running your machines up and down the fields trying to get the crop out of the field. When it costs more for that, where does the price go? It goes to the cost of the beef or the cost of your cereal. We hear about fuel prices. People complain about them all the time. Commercials are out on TV right now about this. There's that one where the dad keeps cussing because he sees the rise and the kid puts the cuss jar in front of him, and there's all kinds. As long as I can remember, I remember my parents talking about gas prices. Everybody talks about gas prices,
which is funny because I can remember when gas was $1 or 99 cents.
I remember one time, PJ, when I was a kid, my dad was at the filling station on where 9th Avenue meets Langley Avenue. There used to be a filling station in Pensacola, Florida, and I was in the back seat of the car, and I had a toy airplane, and I was, and I was little. I was probably 4 or 5.
Yeah,
and I remember the sign, the guy was changing it, and it caught my attention. So I sat there and watched this guy changing it. It was one of those suction things, and and they were changing the sign, and I was watching him do it, and I vividly remember $49.99. So it was 50 cents a gallon, essentially. Right. 50 cents a gallon, and I remember that. Now, you talk to people, they remember it cheaper. The older you are, of course, the cheaper you remember. But I remember 50-cent gallon. Yeah. My whole life, my dad has been one of those, gas is going up again, everybody else. So the whole reason I'm bringing this up.
Okay, and I have a question.
Go ahead.
After you, well, you can.
You can know. I'll tell you. Let's.
Well, here's what I don't get, and I guess this could be because I'm not very well versed on the subject, but the gasoline that was in existence when it was 49 cents is the same gasoline that is around now when it's $3.69 or whatever.
Right.
Okay. Now, when you were a kid, the population of the United States was smaller because now we're at like 329 million. But if you look at a lot of these like censuses and things, the population, even the population of the world, has like dropped off because people nowadays aren't having as many kids especially like within the last decade or whatever. Right. Regardless of what the situation is politically or any of that, prices just continue to rise. I know that people always complain in the moment. They're like, oh, inflation or the war in Ukraine or whatever. But it seems like to me that prices rise regardless. So is it
gas or of everything?
Of everything. Of the, bread now is more expensive than bread then.
But I'm telling you.
But gas prices more than anything. I'm telling
you, the gas is the root of the evil. When the gas goes up, everything else goes up. And there's no way you can get around that because they got to pass that cost on somewhere.
Right.
So they pass it to the consumer. Costs more to raise grain because of fuel prices. It costs more to get the grain out of the field because of fuel prices. It costs more to dry grain in these elevators because it's fuel. There is a direct correlation between fuel prices and the world's economy. That's why we fight for places where there are a lot of oil reserves. That's why there's battle. I mean, we got to be real about that. But my whole thing I'm getting to is that if there's one topic that I would expect the President of the United States to have at least a little bit of a grip on, it would be how fuel prices go up and down, why that's important, and where they are, and what they've done since you've been in office and things like. When you expect that would be on the radar of a president.
Yeah. You would think, because that would be a small issue compared to a lot of the bigger issues.
Yesterday.
Is this the diesel thing?
The President of the United States of America was speaking in Syracuse, New York. The reason he was there, it was at a community college.
All right.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to try. Onondaga Community College in Syracuse, New York.
Rolls right off the tongue.
He was there. He was there to talk about a $100 billion commitment from Micron to build a massive semiconductor in that area. During his comments, he turned to praising his own administration for work it's done on infrastructure in the economy, which led him to the following. One of the successes that President Biden touted was falling gas prices, which he claimed have dropped to $3.39 per gallon on average. And then he says that was down from over $5 a gallon when he took office. And this is his exact quote. I'm going to read the exact quote to you.
Okay.
And because of the action we've taken, gas prices are declining. We are down $1.25 a gallon since the peak of this summer, and they have been falling for the past 3 weeks as well, and adding up real savings for families today. The most common price of gas in America is $3.39, down from over $5 when I took office. His exact quote. Do you have any idea how much gas was in January of 2021?
It was a lot less. I can remember that.
When Biden took office?
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, if it was $5, it was $5 somewhere else. It wasn't $5 here.
It wasn't $5 in America. What happens is they have an average national gas price from 62 metropolitan areas and take the average. 62. So 62 around America. So those are your bigger cities, which tend to be higher in gas.
Right.
Okay. I know like Louisville is always 10 to 15 cents higher than it is here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we're higher than you can get it between here and Madisonville at the Huck station.
When we were going to Holiday World, we would get gas here because by the time you got to just Santa Claus, Indiana,
across
it was like 20 or 30 cents higher.
You're right. So back to this. Steve Guest, who is on the Ted Cruz communication, he's the advisor of Ted Cruz Communications.
Right.
He joked, he said, paging all fact checkers, I've got an easy one for you. And they do the fact checking on it. It's been reported that the average national gas price when Biden took office was $2.42 a gallon. You know, if you're going to talk about some foreign policy in North Korea and say something off base, while some may be offended by that, or some may be shocked that you would stretch the truth a little. But my man, that's not stretching the truth. That is being 50% off, more than 50% off. I do enough reading to know the importance of gas, fuel, to this country and to the world.
Yeah.
And I don't expect you to know it down to the dollar, but to make a comment that off concerns me. Now, I'm not just saying I remember when Trump was in office, and they would fact check him about things he would say.
Constantly,
And it would be so far off that it would be like, how do you continue to say that? And this gets me to the whole point I want to make. I obviously interested in how he could be so far off. Like, doesn't he have people that have people that have people that know that stuff? Have we gotten to a place like I'm so ticked off about this.
I can tell.
If I went over to this courthouse and I stood up in front of the judge and I spoke one mistruth to that judge, like told a lie, a statement that was not grounded in fact, I could not only get in trouble in that case and have sanctions, I could lose my license if it was important enough.
Right. Everything you do is scrutinized.
If we as a country don't demand truth, we're in big trouble. And I'm afraid, this is what got me thinking was, I remember all the fact checking that went on during the Trump and Clinton election. Okay. And they would both just spew stuff that when you fact checked it, it was wrong. It was 100% wrong. We laugh it off as a country. It's like, yeah, that's what presidents do this day. Why? Why have we gotten as a country to the point where we accept our most important office, our leader, where we laugh it off and say, yeah, that's what they do these days. It's just a part of it. How have we gotten to that point? Where is the accountability? Where is the expectation for truth? At what point does it bleed down to where nobody stands up for the truth anymore and the truth isn't important?
Right. Well, I think a lot of factors play into this, and there's several things that I would be interested in knowing when it comes to what you were talking about with him. He gets up there and he says a speech. Now, at this point, do you believe he wrote that that speech or any speech.
I know that presidents
he doesn't
don't write speeches.
Right, they don't. They have the person writing the speech, and then they have the people who are feeding that person the facts that they need to touch on certain topics and hope that those are real and intellectual and factual. But the issue is this: is it an oversight? Because it's just people writing it, right? And people are fallible. So it could have been a mistake. Or is it this, which I think it's this. I think they think the majority of people listening and paying attention, the consumers, are two things: don't care and stupid. I hate to say this though. If you can use social media as a great example, but how often have you known people that you've known your entire life who you thought were pretty level-headed that share misinformation from websites, and we've talked on this about this before, based solely off the headline? They've done no research. They just take it at face value and they go, oh, this is what it is. They do no fact checking of their own. They don't delve any deeper than the headline. And they're like, oh, look, everybody, this is fact. And it's off joeblow.com. So is that what the government thinks of the American people? That he'll get up there and he'll say, here's this, 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 and this, and we know you're going to believe it.
You just made my point. That even the common people really don't care what they're posting or what they're saying, or what they're believing or not believing, or whether it's true or not true. And I'm going to get back to something the reason this means a lot is that there's a passage in the Bible that says the time is coming, in fact has now come, where God is going to be looking for people, worshipers who worship him in spirit and in truth. That's what it says, that worship in spirit and in truth. And that's always the spirit and the flesh are kind of at odds, right? And so the reason that scripture is important to me is that that has always been the thrust of why I do what I do. I want to find the truth. Let me back off of this for a second. The truth is extremely important to me. I am fearful of having my young kids living in a country that has gotten so numb to even worrying about looking to see where the truth is. Just accepts anything. And when we have it standing in a podium in Syracuse, New York, stating bold-faced lies, and we act as if it's not a big deal. Okay, they all do it. And it's like, and we're becoming numb to it. And it scares the crap out of me, PJ. Yeah. Because here's I have had Davin write my closing arguments, and then I take them, and guess what the first thing I do is?
Fact check?
Yeah, I'll have somebody write a motion for me, and I'll look at it, and I'll say, no, that's not right. This date's wrong. That's not true. This is right. Before I stand up, and I know he has to give 50 speeches a day. He goes from one place to the next to the next. But when I'm on Air Force One and I know I'm getting ready to land and in 25 minutes I'm going to be giving a speech, I got it in front of me and I'm flipping through it on my iPad and I'm like, guys, we know, gas wasn't $5 a gallon. What numbskull came up with that? Right. Which makes me wonder, was it in his speech or did he kind of go off on his own? I
mean, that's a possibility. That's why I was saying that there's several factors involved. And that
could be.
Yeah, but at least he stayed awake during the speech.
Yeah, and knew how to exit the stage. But my thing is this. Obviously, some people are pissed about it. It's made the news, and these people are like blasting him for But my point is we blasted Trump for it. We blasted Hillary Clinton for it. We blasted, and it's gone on and on and on. And we blast them for it for a day or two, and then it's acceptable. At what point do we hold them accountable and say, you are a liar, quit opening your mouth, right. Nobody's going to ever listen to you?
Well, and you know what? There's an easy fix for this, and the problem with the easy fix is that a lot of people, especially people that are in power, would look at it as a weakness, and that easy fix is, and I guarantee you, it's as simple as a push of a button, because he's the president. You go on TV live for just a few minutes and you go, you know what, you're right, I was wrong, and I apologize, and I'm looking into it.
They never admit they're wrong.
Right. But that's the easy fix, and that goes into the whole accountability thing.
It does.
Because it's the news cycle, and news is just a TV show anymore. It's exactly what you're saying. In a few days, it'll be something else because, and see, that's the other thing too. I don't necessarily think it's that people don't care. I think
they don't think
living
they can
in
change it.
2022, there's that. They don't think they can change it. They don't think it makes a difference. They don't think their voice matters. And On top of that, we all have so many things going on between wanting to spend time with our families, our jobs, extracurricular activities, the responsibilities as parents. Because when you're a parent, you not only have to care about yourself, if you have a spouse or a girlfriend, you have to care about them. You have to make time for them. If you're a parent, you have to take into account what your kids are doing, where they are, how they feel, what they want to do, because they depend on you for not just housing and food, but also getting them places. And then on top of it, at some point you have to sleep. These responsibilities, just there's gray areas and things overlap. And it's like, at what point is there so many things going on? It's not that you don't care. It's that you just, how are you supposed to fit all that in? I think we're all just stretched thin. Mm-hmm. You know, and once again, it's like it comes across in some ways that we don't care. But I think the other thing too is over information. Mm-hmm. I have a hard enough time remembering basic things.
How do we teach our kids that it's important to tell the truth?
To me, it's simple. You show them by example.
The president of the United States can lie about the price of gas. I mean, you're telling your kid it's wrong to lie. Well, the president does it.
Right. Now, once again, though, I mean, how many, like my kids are going to have no idea that this even happened, right? But I think if at some point, you know, and this comes down to communication. So if you have good communication with your kids and they come to you and they say, you know, look, you've told me it's bad to lie. Well, I caught my teacher in a lie. And then you have to address it. And you say, well, you know, sometimes the people that you look up to, sometimes the people that you respect, sometimes the people that are even trying their hardest will fall short because we're all human and we're all going to sin or we're all going to make mistakes, and that is going to happen. And sometimes they'll catch it, sometimes they won't. If they catch it and they apologize, and obviously they've made an example of themselves in a positive way, and then you can learn something from that. Some people don't do that because they see it as a weakness if they admit fault or whatever the case may be. And that's when you have to look at your kids and say, look, when you catch these things and you see these things, if you know in your heart what the truth is and what's best, that's the route you have to take personally.
I'd be a whole lot easier if he said, you know, when I took office, gas was, you know, around $3 a gallon or something like that, you know, but...
Do you need him?
Yeah, she's 9 minutes early. Okay. We'll be with her at 9.
He was. So for those of you who couldn't see, John was like, if you've ever been to a zoo and you see the elephants just pacing back and forth, yeah. Because that's what John looked like. Not that he's big as an elephant, but he was moving back and forth, and it was obvious he needed something. But
well, this just for some reason. It got me.
I could tell.
Yeah, it did. And I thought, we're discussing this on the podcast, you know.
Yeah. I think the simplest way to look at this is just don't lie.
Don't lie.
And if you get caught in a lie, just
admit it.
Admit it, you know, accountability.
Well, let me tell you this real quick. I get to do something fun tonight. I want to get this out there.
Oh, okay. Fun's good.
I am Owensboro High School is playing Henderson High School in football tonight at Henderson. It's like the two best teams from this entire region are hitting each other. And I've been asked to do the color.
Are you going to sing the national anthem?
I'm going to do the color commentary, like with the play-by-play guy for the radio coverage of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so I get to go over there, and you know they've been sending me all the player stats and all the little diagrams that you use so you can quickly identify what's going on out on the field. So I'll be on at 6 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, I'll be on the radio, and at 5, I'm doing live at 5, where we're doing all the high school games and stuff tonight. So I've got a whole night of radio, but I'm really looking forward to sitting up there in the press box and calling the game.
That's
I think that'll
cool.
be a pretty cool opportunity. So anyway,
did I ever tell you about the time the OHS asked me to come back and I say moderate. That's not the right word, but help be an announcer at a football game. Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
Okay, well, you know how much I know about sports. But so when I started hitting locally the news a whole lot because of the movie stuff, well, they're like, oh, you know, PJ, this is his alma mater, so we'll bring him back. We'll have him. So they reached out to me. They said, hey, do you want to come and be an announcer on this for this football game? And I was like, look, and I was honest with them. I said, I know nothing about football. I don't know anything about it. I'm not a sports guy. I was never involved in sports. And they're like, no, that's fine. It would just be great. You went here, you know, you're like a local celebrity, so it'd just be really cool to have you. And I said, seriously, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And they're like, no, don't worry about it. You'll be up there with someone so they can go. And I'm like, okay, fine. So they had me come out to this game, and I get there, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And they said, well, you know, you have to do commentary. You know, it'll go out across the PAs. You have to announce certain plays and this, that, and the other. I'm like, I don't know plays. And they said, oh, no, it's not that hard. And then in between, you'll just like give sponsor shout outs and stuff like that. Well, you know me. And I was even worse then in terms of like just really going off the cuff and everything. So I said, all right, well, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, but sure. So I'm so I started doing the announcing, and it started off fine, but then like during the game, he would be the guy like that I was with, something happened, he had to leave. So I'm up in the press box by myself. So I'm like, okay, so the team in blue just got the ball, and the guy, he's running, and oh man, if only he was better, he wouldn't have dropped the ball. So I'm like doing stuff like that. Well, at one point I say something that apparently makes one of the parents mad, and the parents down in the front stands up and is like yelling at me because I said something he did not agree with. And I was like, I'm sorry, sir, I can't hear you. And he's like trying to yell, and I was like, look, I've got the microphone. Just go ahead and sit down. You don't have one. So I'm doing stuff like that. And about midway through the game, they sent somebody up there, and they're like, yeah, we have to take you. We're getting too many complaints. You actually have to, we have to ask you to leave. They were really apologetic and everything. And I was like, okay. And they're like, yeah, no, we just, you know, we've had a whole slew of parents get up and complain about things you're saying and that, you know, you don't really know what you're talking about. And I was like, I told you I didn't know what I was talking about. You gave
them full warning.
I did.
Full disclosure.
Yeah. And so it was very interesting, but I got kicked out of the announcer box.
That's funny.
At OHS.
That's funny. Well, I hope I don't get kicked out tonight.
No, I think you'll do fine.
All right. Well, this has been Law Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. I hope you have low gas prices over the weekend.
Yes.
And that you fact check everything our leaders are saying so that you are wise to the truth. If you ever need a lawyer, find the lawyers that still seek the truth. Foreman Watson Holtry. Until next time, God bless.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!